Ho ho buddies from Borderline Games, I'm Gareth and today we're playing Beyond R. Rule Ripper Beyond R. Last time, Jin's dead. We're investigating a murder. We can search for clues. We've found 2 clues so far, I think. We have found... No, we found 1 clue, I think. No, 2. Chat screenshot. Email. I can't remember who this applied to, but I think it was someone that liked to walk. Right? We got an email of the next musical prodigy, which is no doubt piano, right? Anyway, I'll not kind of focus too much on these because I don't remember them very well. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to the suspects. So who can we talk to? Let's have a little look. Murder mystery stories were never this hobby, nor had he ever been interested in detective or police work, but he still knew one of the basics was interrogating the suspects. He didn't know how to do it or if he'd be capable, but it didn't need to be too formal. He'd just have a chat with each one. That's all. But that was the hardest part for him, having to suspect others. Did he have to talk to all of them? All of them? Who were the most suspicious? He began by making a mental list of all 9. Number 8. Lime, vodka, cigar, piano, cocktail, poker, coffee, and darts. Lime was out. He was certain of that. He couldn't see her as a killer, even less so after what had happened. He didn't even want to consider it. She got really upset. And while not a great reason, he didn't have the resolve to talk to her again after what happened, especially about that subject. That makes me think that Lime is definitely the murderer. He needed some time. Next was vodka. Also quite unlikely, though less so. His age would make any physical action harder, and his indifferent attitude towards the game made him more willing to die than kill. There was the chance of that being an act, but he wasn't the biggest suspect. Cigar also didn't give off the impression of being capable of it. At least she appeared to lack the mental fortitude. She'd been visibly affected by the events, having shown panic, ire, and fear. Again, it could be an act. Not likely though. Piano was a kid. Even though he tried to act as if he wasn't. Piano was a kid, even if he tried to act as if he wasn't, physically less capable against gin than vodka. Very unlikely. Cocktail was the first plausible candidate. He seemed to be a good person, albeit distant. An easy person to suspect, with his strong image as a bartender and the game taking place in a bar. Even though he was searching for the murderer, he couldn't help but recall Dart's words about the possibility of Cocktail having some relation to the owner. But he had to focus. Physically, he could have done it, but Bill didn't have enough information on him, or the murder, to reach any conclusions. He had to consider him a suspect, even if he didn't like it. Poker was another possible suspect, but the friendship he seemed to have made with Jin made it less likely. On the other hand, he definitely had enough strength to commit the crime. Though he seemed less hurt by it than Cigar and Lime, he'd been clearly furious and more serious than usual. No doubt it had affected him, despite showing it less. Even if he was innocent, he could still be worth talking to, as he seemed to have known Jin better than the rest, Lime aside. Coffee was the biggest mystery of all. He found it impossible to judge her in any way. Obviously that made her suspicious, but simply due to a mere lack of info. On the one hand, she seemed to have less strength than Jin, making her a less likely candidate, though not an impossible one. But that was as far as he could go without speculation. He needed to talk to her more, as hard as that was. Yeah, maybe I definitely need to talk to Coffee. And last but not least was Darts. Perhaps from the whole group, the person he'd had the most clashes with. There was no denying that he hadn't had a great opinion of him since the start. However, after those strange conversations, he had no idea anymore. He was always wondering whose side he was on, what he was aiming for. He was certainly a possible culprit, but how likely was it? He could picture him both as main suspect and innocent. Gong 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 gong. In summary, his main suspects were cocktail, poker, and darts, with a big question mark over coffee, as well as darts, again. But really, those question marks could be extended to the whole group. Even after a few hours with them, they were still strangers. Even Lime, the one who seemed to be Even Lime, the one who seemed to have suffered the most from Jin's death, as much as he wanted to completely discard her, her innocence wasn't 100% certain. Step by step, he needed to talk to each of them in private, otherwise nothing would be done. At first glance, the easiest way to find the culprit was to figure out who fit his third data, but it wouldn't work to simply ask each player if they had ever tried to kill themselves. Aside from being incredibly insensitive, the culprit would lie with no way for him to know, and it wasn't the type of answer he could get while being subtle. The best way, and maybe the only one, was finding out who had both the reason and the mindset required to reach such an extreme. And from the little he knew of them, and going by first impressions, none of the 8 gave off that image. Same as Jin. And there was another factor to consider. Was talking alone with someone safe? As long as the killer was free, it was a risk. As much as he refused to play the game, someone else had already started, and they wouldn't turn back after such a serious crime. If his investigation was found out, he could become the next victim. The rest would also want to find the culprit's identity, but compared to being willing to openly investigate was a different matter. Okay, who do I investigate? Ugh, my head. Too many things to consider. Who did he have to talk to first? Choose who to talk to. Oh, coffee. Okay, so we've got cocktail, coffee, darts, poker. I feel like coffee stands out here amongst these 3 men. Let's talk to coffee. Though he saw her as an unlikely suspect, she was a suspect nonetheless. He needed to make sure she was innocent before ruling her out. As usual, he found her alone, on one of the sofas in the east side. What was less expected was finding her upside down, like she was sleeping. Upside down. It reminded him of Lime, albeit in Coffee's case, he was less certain of whether she was awake or not. While he didn't want to wake her, it really was not a good time to nap. Even after the disappearance of the objectives, they couldn't relax. Oh, and now she's awake. But as he got near, maybe because she heard his footsteps, Coffee turned around and looked at him with her poker face. I'm starting to think the nicknames got switched by mistake. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Good morning? Okay, so far so good. Wasn't sleeping. Okay. Good to know. I guess. And with that, she turned around again, giving him the cold shoulder once more. Thankfully he saw it coming, thus keeping his cool. He had to get to the bottom of it, so it was time to get serious. I'd like to know what you know about what happened. Anything at all. Without turning around, she answered,
Since when are you a detective?
I'm not. I just want us to be safe. Naturally, getting to the truth was important, but above that were their lives. The hows and whys weren't as crucial to him, only the who. Getting as much info as possible was no more than a means to that end.
Can you prove that you aren't guilty?
Huh?
How can I trust your innocence?
I'd love to prove it, but I don't have an alibi. But do you really think it could have been me?
No. But it's not impossible.
Right. I can't be sure you're innocent either, but I still want to hear you. And also, shouldn't there be some presumption of innocence or something?
This isn't a trial. Or the outside world.
What do you mean by that?
The laws and logic from outside don't necessarily apply here.
I get the law part, but logic? Don't leave me hanging now.
Do I need to explain?
I'm more interested in whatever you might know about the crime, but honestly, now that you said that, it's been nice to hear it.
Can I talk about only one?
I prefer both. Please?
This whole game is illogical, so relying on logic alone can mislead you.
Illogical? I despise it, but the game doesn't seem so badly designed.
I'm not talking about the design. It's illogical because it lacks sense and purpose.
Oh, good point. Totally. The only sense this can have is sadistic entertainment for our kidnapper. It makes me sick. But unless the culprit turns out to be that owner, I think the murder can be solved.
The owner is one of us.
I hope not, but yeah, it's possible. This look she's given me. Both stood silent, having to think for a moment about what just happened. Coffee appeared to have expected some sort of reaction from him after confidently spewing such a heavy statement. Yet it was her that had been caught off guard. No, Bill was just as stunned, but his surprise was a result of his own reply, not her words. He himself would have expected to deny that assertion, yet the first thing that came to his mind was the exact opposite. Deep down, since who knows when, he'd already accepted that possibility. He couldn't figure out when the seed of doubt that had now blossomed had been planted in him. Perhaps it was there from the very start. The owner, the one responsible for the whole game, was one of the 10 players. No, 9. No. There was no reason why it couldn't be Jin. As long as number 1 had the freedom to kill, they could kill anybody. So technically there were 10 suspects. And once again, 9, not counting himself. It horrified him and disgusted him to think that the culprit was there, but it was already a fact that the killer was among them. Therefore, to assume that the architect of that nightmare was 2 wasn't unthinkable. After Jin's death, many possibilities had opened, ones he would have rejected before with all his strength. But dealing with that person wouldn't free them from the poison chaining them to the game. For that reason, he shook his head, trying to get rid of those thoughts. He needed to focus on what was most important: the murderer. Getting back on topic, do you know anything that could help us find the culprit?
Do I need to respond to that? I know I'm bothering you, but... It's not that. To be honest, I don't like thinking about it. As in the murder.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Normally, something like that would traumatize anyone. Sorry.
No, I'm fine. It's just so gruesome.
On the other hand, Lime probably couldn't say the same. It disturbed him too, but he'd managed to push his feelings aside to try to solve it. Realizing that made him feel a bit guilty. Am I being disrespectful with Jin and everyone? I think she would have wanted us to find the truth, but it is true that I got over it pretty easily. Much easier than expected. As tragic as it all was, Jin was still someone who had... let's start again. As tragic as it all was, Jin was still someone he'd barely known. Even Lime had confessed to feeling more fear than sorrow, as tough as it was to admit it. Even so, having been present in the moment of death, even though he felt such a shock that made him shiver just thinking about it. In that moment, he didn't feel as tormented as he had expected. Understanding that was by itself quite disturbing. Was his way of thinking being affected by the game? Wanting to get those thoughts out of his head, he attempted to get back on the conversation. So, as I was saying, what can you tell me about what happened?
Nothing.
At least tell me where you were.
Here.
Lying here? On this same sofa?
This one or some other one.
Then I guess you didn't see anything.
No.
But maybe you heard something. Not that either.
Footsteps.
Footsteps.
3 people, heading to the bathrooms, and later the same number on the opposite direction.
Ah. Let's have a look at Coffee's thing. Can we see any information about her? Seems like she isn't the other half, but at least I made sure that she doesn't hate me. I don't want to see her introduction interview. Sitting on one of the sofas at the east area. Okay.
But I didn't look. I don't know who they were.
In the same fashion, she turned her head, avoiding Bill's gaze. Did she feel guilty? That could be important, right? Wait. 3?
That's what I said, yes.
But how could there be 3 and then 3 also leave? Like, Jim was just always there in the men's bathroom. Wouldn't there be 4 going there and 3 away, or...? Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't think you're guilty, but 3. Oh yeah, who would they have been, out of the people that we suspect?
Jin didn't exit the bathroom.
If you think I'm lying, stop me. Stop you? Stop you how?
That's your problem.
Okay. Seriously, I don't think it's you. It would be a weird lie to make, for starters, but... Well, never mind. We'll talk about it at the council. I'll let you go back to sleep, then. Doesn't seem like a good idea after what happened, though. No response. She wasn't asleep, but it appeared that she decided to unilaterally end the conversation, just like Coffee. Well, I'm not sure if that accomplished much, but I did my best. I hope. At least I tried to. Getting any information out of Coffee was an achievement. It was time to continue the investigation elsewhere. His next goal would be... 3:41. Oh, I ran out of time. Oh shit. Once again, that moment had come. His investigation had to conclude to attend the council, which would probably be the best, which would probably be the most crucial one yet. In the previous hour, he'd arrived with a sword hanging above his head, his objective yet to be fulfilled. That sword no longer existed. Rule 9 had vanished, and yet that very death was what made that council even more tense than usual. Even though his life wasn't in any immediate danger, he felt a greater pressure on his shoulders than ever before. On top of the burden of escaping the game, another one had been added. Solving that crime would be easier than escaping, while also requiring a crucial decision that all players had to take. What would they do with the culprit if they found them? Should they avenge Jin or prioritise keeping Rule 1? Which was, we all know... Intended killing is forbidden, that's what it was. The only thing everyone seemed to agree on was that they couldn't let the murderer stay in the shadows, acting anonymously, without a way to stop them. He hadn't managed to reach any conclusions during his investigation, but that was to be expected from a novice like him. His hope was that the few pieces of information he had acquired, put alongside the other pieces at the council, would complete the puzzle. He reached his seat. Most of them were already there, silent, saving their words for the council. Too tensed up to chat, and Lime was no exception. Vodka arrived. With him, everyone was present, save one exception. One that still hurt. With all 9 of them there. 3:45. It was time to begin. It's council time! Quick save. And we're back. So serious. The 4th council. We're here already. There's a red R. Are the red letters clues? Is that possible? So, where to begin? The killer. Where else? Sure, that's the biggest topic, but there's another one we need to cover sooner or later. Rule 3, as usual.
I'm Rule 8.
Whoa, okay. Hello, piano.
Now we can talk about the killer.
But...
What? Any problems?
I don't think it's fair for the youngest one to...
You do it in the next one then. I just want to get that out of the way ASAP.
Shut it. As long as 3 remains alive, all of us will get our turn eventually. Fighting over it is idiotic. Anyone willing to vote? Okay. I really don't like this feeling of hostility, but maintaining peace while looking for a killer might be impossible. We'll have to get our hands dirty to dig up the truth, but there has to be some balance between the two, otherwise... Apparently not. So now we can get started on the main subject. Okay. We all agreed on catching the culprit, though maybe not quite on what to do with them afterwards, correct? Right.
Oh, but the culprit, that is.
We'll decide what to do with them when we get there. But we can't have a murderer on the loose if we don't want to end up like her. Are you assuming the culprit is male? Could it be a woman? Could be a woman. I don't think there's any doubt. Oh, what's going on with the mouse? I agree on that. Easy enough for the woman to say, but it's still too early to jump to conclusions.
Maybe, but the likelihood of them being a man is higher. Explain yourself, young lady. My head is a bit rusty. For starters, it's statistically more likely. We're now 6 men and 3 women. More importantly, though, is that the strength required points at a man, especially when Jin seemed to be the strongest woman here. On that note, you can rule me out. My muscles turned to jelly along that. No, long ago. They turned to jelly long ago.
Nobody's suspecting you, Gramps. No need to worry. Piano could also be ruled out for that reason. Piano's gonna take offense.
Hey, I'm strong! Maybe not as strong as you, but that's just because I'm younger.
Sure, kid.
You!
That's enough. Now's not the time for meaningless quarrels. All said, the longer we take in finding the killer, the more time we'll have to kill again. They'll have to kill again. We shouldn't rush it. The truth won't emerge so quickly. We have 2 paths we can take to find it. We can take both, but for now we should focus on one. Which paths? She's French. First one is trying to solve this murder case in a regular manner, like the police would. Okay. Using what we found throughout our investigations, yes. Exactly. The other road is only one possibility. The other road is one possible, and only in this game. Remember, the culprit is in possession of Rule 1 using our data and hints. Jesus Christ. I fucked that up. That sounds easier. It would be, but there are some downsides. We'd have to reveal our info, also known as put our numbers at risk. Timeout. Huh? There's a timeout. That happened very abruptly. Alright, okay, well I guess we're going to continue this next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Beyond Our Rule Ripper, and I'll see you next time. Have a good evening, take care of yourselves, bye bye! Bye 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 bye!